Hello, everybody. I'm Hyper G with Lucky Sixes. How are you, sir?
Very good, mate. Very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. You were about to crack out a drum set there, weren't you? You were dun, 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 dun.
Yeah,
Don't let me stop you. You carry on.
I might.
But
I might just.
otherwise, while
I'll
you're
sign
drumming
off and
away,
just drumming.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not something I've ever done. Like most people have sat at a drum set and just started whacking things. I don't think I've ever sat on a drum set ever in my whole life.
Wow.
There you
Well, there you go, fans. Send us a drum set.
go.
They're
And the
probably
next
cheap.
video will
Yeah.
be.
I,
Oh,
I
who
guarantee.
knows?
I guarantee you, if you send us a drum set, Hyper G will play it.
How well I'll play it. Maybe I'm a
Yeah. Yeah.
natural.
Yeah.
I just
Be like
never
a D and
know.
D bard. You suddenly just crack one out.
I'm s-
Anyway, we're here for Old World,
Old
as you can
world.
see from the screen,
Yeah.
and
Good job
we
the
are
screen
here.
tells us
Good.
because if you watch that intro, you wouldn't have a clue.
Thank you, screen. Um,
Yeah.
and we're here for a Wood Elves versus Dwarves. Now, this is
Ooh.
officially for us the first Wood Elf 2,000 point battle
Yes,
because we
because
did
last
have
time you
a
played them on Warhol, didn't you?
yes with Mr. Warhol himself, which was a very cool
Ooh.
battle and a nice chilled out one where we didn't really play any rules properly, but it was a good fun game
Yeah.
against what maybe the third or fourth version of Dwarves. This is
It's my third version of Dwarfs
yeah
because obviously Hugo played Dwarfs in
yeah
that same game, so it's actually a rematch of this armies, but I'm Dwarfs instead of
it's very
Hugo. So
different, yeah, but it's not
yeah,
on Warhol. It is on real life,
no.
and let's go
Mm,
through the lists now. Wood Elf Realms.
let's.
So we have been currently looking at all the lists, seeing what they kind of do, and our initial impressions of each list, and going through them. Beasters have had quite a different one of Monster Mash and Chariots, for example. Warriors seems to be probably the only infantry that's any good of any kind. So I've tried to stick with that as much as possible. But all these different iterations for different books, whatever. Dwarves obviously have the machinery. Wood Elves seem to have a lot of very good small arms fire. So
Yeah.
I sort of topped it up, and I'm like, well, the Way Watchers and the Way Stalker are great, but you need two Way Stalkers to have two Way Watcher units. So I was like, all right, put that in. Sisters of Thorn look amazing with being able to choose a spell. I chose Wind Blast, so that looks great. The Glade Riders having reserve move
Yeah.
just seems auto. Okay, that's yeah, and that's how the list kind of came up. And I was like, well, I want a dragon, so put dragon in, and it kind of wrote itself.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of shooting and shenanigans, and I felt bad actually putting this on the table because it looks it's like there's a lot of things, and probably what we'll get into in a lot of the later videos and stuff is some of these other rules are sort of fitted in here, like evasive or fire and
Yep.
flee. And also, probably the biggest rule, which isn't really a sneaky rule or anything, is that bows, Athelloran bows, have range 32. Now,
32.
that is a
The
very
two being the operative
specific,
part of that
it's a
30.
very specific range, considering a lot of other stuff is range 30. So it's
Or
a
lower, yeah.
or lower,
Mm.
yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting one. I made it, and I was like, you know what? We'll put it on the table. We'll see how it rides. The dragon's in there as well. Let's go. Basically, let's
Yeah, and
go
mentioning
full.
the dragon doesn't really fit the memo, does he,
No,
really? Because he is not shooty. He has got a bow, the guy on top, but he doesn't really fit the memo of the other 1,500 points because the other 1,500 points is only
and it's a
interesting
big
in
chunk. It's
books.
like
So,
500 points, and so you're like
yeah. Mm.
realistically, because the dragon was in before I really looked at the rule. This isn't the shootiest you could get.
No, no,
By
not at all.
by DC, you get two more Sisters of the Thorn unit, for example, or whatever. So bear that in mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
over to the dwarves and
Yeah.
lots of doubles and stuff, but basically we like the organ guns.
Yeah, it's a variation of the list that I've been playing dwarf wise, because I've kind of like found a few things that I like and what I want to stick with, what I don't want to stick with. I mean, in the game that I had last time, it was a very heavy gun line list as well. Speaking of wood elves
Mm.
and gun lines, the only problem with that game against the beastmen was that you Mario Karted your way across the board before I could shoot a lot, which was absolutely the correct way to play.
The
Um,
biggest rule in that game was chariots can march.
yeah, exactly. But I think we had a bit of discussion about, well, talking about, in quotes, filthy lists, because Wood Elves definitely comes near to that category for the reasons already discussed. The filth with the dwarfs is probably the spam gyrocopters option, because they are just so maneuverable and they can just go all over the place, and there's no real limit on them. I think I can get, like, if I wanted to, I could have like 12, maybe more gyrocopters, and I think they are the way dwarves can go, like super duplicate filthiness. But I
we
decided
had a
not to
few
go.
comments actually on that as well. We said
We did
off the
in the
back of
beast herd battle.
the last
They need
shooting list,
gyrocopters. Yeah,
put them in.
yeah,
So thanks for that as well to help
exactly.
us out.
Yeah, my only issue with that, technically, not that it matters for proxy table gaming, is I don't own a single gyrocopter. So
Yeah.
there is that holding me back ever so slightly. I'm quite a way off owning 12, let alone one. But that doesn't stop proxy table gaming normally. And I just wanted to slowly phase my way towards that, I guess. So I've just got the 4 gyrocopters, 2 with brimstone guns, 2 with steam guns. The rest is very much list options that I played before, i.e. King and Thane BSB on foot with the usual jazz of stuff. I'm not going to go through it, really, because I won't end that
We will
sentence.
see. But they're in the long bid unit with
They're in the long
everyone
bid
having a
unit.
5-up ward save, which is great.
Yes, it was great in the previous Beastman battle. So yeah, they've got the Anvil of Doom again. I've got 2 engineers with the organ guns. Organ guns are awesome. That's the reason I've got gyro bombers, because they compete in the rare section. Iron Drakes, I like the Trollhammer torpedoes, and then I just throw a bit of Thunderers out to round out core. And yeah, I'm just slowly phasing towards that gyrocopters, maybe. And yeah, we'll see how it goes against the shooty Wood Elves.
Yeah, very much so. We rolled up Battle of Gazuro Gap, however you say that, which is basically Mounted Pass as well, which is an interesting one because it does kind of filter us, actually.
It bottlenecks the board. It makes it very narrow.
Perhaps, arguably, makes the Wood Elves not be able to spread out as much as well. So, see, we're interested to see how that plays, and this is how the deployment came about. The Pegasus Knights up there are all the gyrocopters that have vanguarded.
It's a really good proxy, actually. I was so glad when I arrived at your place in PTG HQ and you had all the Pegasus Knights on the board ready to go.
Well, I didn't know your list before, so I actually got like 13, 14, 50 by 50s on like all lined up. I was like, how many do you need?
Yeah, and I actually surprised you by saying I'm only taking 4 this time.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good proxy to have the Pegasus Knights, because they are obviously got wings. Yeah. So that's probably what I'll do if we do more gyrocopters in the future, is use the Peg Knights, because they're a really cool demonstration of flying thing. Yeah. They've vanguarded.
They've vanguarded. Then before we get onto the actual units, as well, now that we've covered the proxy, we are on trays. Now there will be a video coming up to show you this, but this is from movementtray.com that sent us a load of movement trays, surprisingly not, but are also guilty of providing us these like measurement sticks and other things as well in the past as well. So have a huge deal of magnetic movement trays, basically, but also have done adapters, which we are using today, for the change of base size. So if you don't necessarily want to take off all your
entire army,
you take your models from your bases, rebase it entirely, you do have this option, and it's option we're certainly making use of, and thank them very much. So go check them out, movementtray.com.
They're brilliant, really good. We really appreciate their support.
Really good value money, have loads of other gaming aids as well as movement trays or movement adapters, however you want, and do have them available on bigger sizes in case you already have moved over bases and you just want the trays. They've got all that as well, so go check them out. We'll do a whole video on them to do a bit of a deep dive into that, but just a big shout out for that at the minute, so that we could show off their stuff.
Cheers guys.
But yeah, so we've started with the dwarves. We may as well carry on.
May as well.
What have we got?
The bolt thrower like spear chucker unit is a organ gun, first organ gun. Then moving down is another organ gun. Both have got engineers behind them. Then I've got a unit of thunderers in front of them. The cannon I think. Yeah, the golden silvery one is actually the Anvil of Doom. Is that right? Or no, the Anvil of Doom is actually
Spear
the bolt
chucker.
thrower.
I
Yeah.
thought it was.
So yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Why? I think it's just crew behind the Anvil of Doom. Yeah, the other two engineers. Anyway, then I've got the two Iron Drakes in front of the Longbeard unit. The King is on Shield Bearers, which is why I'm using the Quattle model, or Anarach, depending on what you're used to calling him. And then I've got the unit of Thunderers on this right-hand side on the hill. It was interesting because I knew what I was walking into, like this Wood Elf avoidance shooting this from afar. And we've gone against, we've played battles in Old World and in Ninth Age, mainly Ninth Age, where you're not expecting to win. We'd call it like a red matchup in Ninth Age, wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's going to be hard to get any points out of and to win it. And so you have to mitigate and lose by as little as possible, basically, or try and sneak out a lucky win. And this is definitely one where the dwarves just haven't got the ability to compete with this Wood Elf army at all. But the organ guns are out of range because you're 32 and I'm 30.
30, yeah.
Exactly. The Thunderers are 24 inches. Again, that's not big enough to get into range. And if they move, they will suffer -2 to hit because of Ponderous. The Iron Drakes are even worse because they're only 18 inches. And the Trollhammer Torpedoes are a bit further, but still less than 32. And the Longbeards with the King and the Thane, they can pack a punch, but there's no reason why you would engage them in combat and they can do nothing back to you. My only chance is if the gyrocopters can run at you and cause you some damage. And chances are you're going to shoot that off the board as soon as you possibly can. So this is like the most red matchup that it gets in terms of Old Worlds that we've experienced so far, I think is fair to say. And I would have had two choices. If this was the Ninth Age red matchup, then I probably would have deployed in a corner and said, draw this out as long as possible, make it a really frustrating game for my opponent so that he just can't get any points out of me, and maybe I'll lose by a little amount, but I won't lose big. That's kind of the way it would normally have been done. But at the stage we're at with Old World, we're like, well, we're just here to fight. We're here to learn the rules. We're here to have a bit of fun. We're here to see if this filthy Wood Elf list is as filthy as we think it is. Yeah. And also, my dwarf list is pretty filthy. I'm slowly working into the filthiness.
Yeah.
Against any other opponent, range 30-inch organ guns is terrifying.
Yeah.
And Trollhammer Torpedoes and all that. It's a really rough dwarf list. But these Wood Elves, it's like the rock, paper, scissors effect, isn't it? I'm the rock and you're the paper in this one. But so I could have deployed this in a corner. We could have had 2 hours of just not really having a good game. Yeah. Or I could deploy like this and we could just see how it goes. And that's what I did. So yeah, possibly not ideal for the dwarf's chances, but we'll have a good fun game. And over to you for the Wood Elves, I guess.
So at the top we had the Deepwood Scouts, then one of the unit of Glade Riders. I've got behind the forest, I've got my which is my best painted Wood Elf. Is my only actual Wood Elf actually that you can't see
behind the tree.
Wizard. Yeah, the Wizard and the Glade Guard, the core you have to have. Then the Dragon. Then we've got the blue cavalry are the Sisters of the Thorn, more Glade Riders, and then 2 units of Way Watchers on this side. My plan with the Way Watchers in putting them there over the other side is that I didn't want them to get bogged down with the big stuff. I wanted them to come round this hill, and then when the time came, put both of them out and everything else onto the first organ gun, then move on to the next organ gun and sort of like focus fire as much as possible. And do that as quickly as I could. And I didn't mind only being able to shoot at Thunderers or Iron Drakes for 1 or 2 turns while I was setting that up. So, yeah. Everything else
absolutely.
Was just make sure you're out of range of the organ gun and fire at anything else. That was my only real thought going into it. Stay out of arc. And this is the arc of the organ gun, roughly.
Yeah, it's a bit shorter than that for the unit on the Scouts, the Way Watchers, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, you just couldn't see those Way Watchers. I know that they were
because of the hill. Yes, good point.
So everything else, and that's kind of a theme for the game. this will be.
Yeah, just wood elves have no reason to get within that bubble. Why would they? Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of my movement, because I haven't got a very good movement picture, the dragon comes over and the Sisters of Thorn come over this side basically to help out with the gyros that are all coming down my right hand side, and the Deepwood Scouts come into the middle as well. I get an extra movement on them to move them even further into the centre, and you can see my only wood elf model there. It's a very, very nice, lovely lady mounted on this. I don't know. It's like a
vine thing.
Yeah, vine thing. But yeah, very cool. But she's my only actual wood elf. So there you go. In terms of shooting, I put everything, as you can see, into those certain units. And
focus fire, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and as you say, my movement really hasn't changed too much, although this is the previous one. But in terms of movement,
you didn't move the Deepwood Scouts in the end because we realised that the Deepwood Scouts were blocking the shooting.
Sure, or however it works. I think I do move in because I didn't want to be charged off. I think the Glade Riders move out. So. Yeah,
you're right.
This is the previous picture. But I kill only 4 Thunderers and do 2 out of 3
on 5s, isn't it?
Yeah, and it became apparent that this strength 3 shooting is dirty, but it takes a while.
Especially against dwarves who have armor and resilience, toughness 4. Or the gyrocopters toughness 5. So you wound on 5s and 6s, and then I have armor saves. So
as a rule of thumb for everything, the infantry is Arcane Bodkins, which is the -2 AP.
Armor save, yeah.
And the mounted things are poison. And again, that was just to make it easy for me.
Yes. I think it's a good mix to have.
Yeah.
So you can pick your targets.
But yeah, so not a great deal. So it just meant... And it's just... it just meant I had to stay back.
Yes, another turn. You have to chip away a bit longer. Yeah.
Oh, this is slowly. It was that slow.
1 arrow at a time.
I also get a forest up in the middle.
That's animation.
Which is actually quite... It seems to be quite a good one because it doesn't move.
Yeah, we like a good old vortex that doesn't move now, don't we?
I was looking at this going, actually, this isn't a bad one. And obviously, there's a few items that I didn't choose, which are, if you are within 6 inches of forest, you get this or whatever in the Wood Elf book. So this actually showed me how... I was like, okay, that's actually pretty good in terms of that as well. I reserve moved the Glade Riders to there, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Afterwards. This is dwarf movement. Turn 1.
Yeah, so I had 2 choices. We'll talk about the gyrocopters in a minute. But I had 2 choices with my longbeards. And it was very much a choice that I had at deployment stage. I had 3 choices, I guess. One is the aforementioned, deploy in a corner and make it the most frustrating game for both of us. Didn't do that. The second choice was that I deploy my longbeards as far forward as possible and I run at you with them. Because if I'm running at you with all my longbeards, yes, you will never engage them in combat, and yes, you will be able to avoid me charging you probably for the whole game, but you would be put under a bit of pressure if I did that. That was my second option. I decided not to do that, hence putting the Iron Drakes in front of them and potentially slowing down my advance. The option I decided to go with was to stay there and to stop your Way Watchers behind this hill from arcing round and getting to my organ guns. Because if the Way Watchers get around the hill and shoot off the organ guns, it's definitely game over. Because you can start coming near me, you can start moving around, you can pick your targets really easily. But while the organ guns are there, you have to stay in that very small gap between 32 inches and 30 inches while my organ guns are there. So I went with this as an option, but leaving my longbeards there to stop your Way Watchers from getting too near to my organ guns, effectively. And that's what I did with them. I moved my Thunderer unit, the 5, forward a little bit so they could maybe shoot into the next turn if you did make a mistake and get a bit too near. And the gyrocopters all moved forwards towards your lines, moving a bit more aggressively. I kept those two on the left side of the forest back a bit because the dragon had obviously moved onto this side, which I thought was a very good move on your part because obviously it did mean that I had to keep a little bit honest with my gyrocopters. Otherwise, I would have literally just moved all four of them towards your Deepwood Scouts and just gone for it. But I had to be a little bit careful with my overruns and what I was going to do with the dragon and which of my gyrocopters I was happy to lose, which ones I could flee with, etc. So I thought it was a good move on your part to move the dragon over there. I also got the spell to give the extra armor to that gyrocopter that had taken a couple of wounds, just to see if I could keep him on the board for as long as possible to take as much of your focus fire shooting, so that you couldn't then move on to the next gyrocopter. And yeah, that was basically my tactic, was to just be a little bit sustainable whilst also threatening your mobile units on that top flank. Because without being Battle for the Pass, the mountain pass, it wasn't like you could move around those gyrocopters off the board. You know, so
we've already sort of briefly touched on those two units at the top. Really suffered, and that's my play, is that I really suffered from not having all the space in the world to go side by side in, and I was feeling actually quite congested through it. So it was a factor, I think, in that, and looking to pounce as a
absolutely dwarf.
You get rerolls to
there's
armor save,
oath and steel rerolls. Yeah, this was on the higher level. I got this one. So reroll failed armor saves and +1 armor saves. So I think I was up to 3 up armor. I think on that.
I think so.
Might even be 2 up. I think it was 3 up. Yeah.
You do a wound to my deep wound scouts through shooting?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I couldn't do my breath weapons. The ones with white dice behind are the ones with breath weapons. Couldn't do the breath weapons because I had marched. But I had bang, 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 brimstone guns or whatever they're called to kill one scout.
I get the reroll to hit with shooting on the one that hasn't been taken, thinking I'm bound to get one off on this other guy, so I'll just pin it on the other guy. And I charge in with the dragon to clear one of these, thinking that, well, if a shooting can pick out some of them, dragon can take 1 or 2 of them off, then we'll concentrate on everything else with everything else. And this is how I move. In Wood Elf turn 2 movement. My dwarves on the my Way Watchers on the left or at the bottom of the screen, as you can see it, are just content on taking the one guy off, or the Iron Drakes that are on the hill.
Iron Drakes.
The other guys, the Glade Riders, and the other Way Watchers come up to help out with that. The Sisters of Thorn move over to Wind Blast and shoot. Although this is a contentious subject at the minute, and this is a question. So there's a question of whether multiple magic missiles can be shot from a wizard, which we are under the consideration as they cannot, because you can only
one wizard can
shoot
do one shooting attack.
The weird thing with this is they're like a wizard conclave or whatever it's called in this, in that the unit can cast a spell. Now, it doesn't say it's like a champion. Like you become a level 1 if you're a champion, level 2 if you're a standard, but it's a unit. So obviously they've got Wind Blast,
which is a magic missile.
But does that stop the whole unit shooting their things? We didn't know. It didn't actually come up too much, but we think yes.
No, it didn't.
Because there's only 12-inch range.
The Thorns were the smaller range, and you were keeping back. It didn't come up very much, but I think it's like a catch-22 thing. Like
so there is. So if that's the case, please tell us. We need some comments on all those sorts of things, and we are going to do. We're in the background coming up with all these rules for some very cool videos in the future as well. Once we've settled,
I think it probably
ourselves.
means. I think it probably means that Sisters of Thorn need to choose a non-magic missile as their
which you can do. You can get Plague of Rust, which is very, very useful. So it's not like there are other options. Just working out whether that is an option or not, basically.
I think so.
Excuse me. So otherwise movement is as so. I do kill this, and it panics off your other guy, which is great. But then means I can't do the javelin shooting. So that's why it didn't come up. there. So I do some other wounds on those dwarves at the back, as you can see.
Yeah, it was a failed leadership 9, which was a little bit annoying.
Yeah,
my gyrocopter that fled, but
but yeah, very happy for me. I get, as I said, a few wounds off with fireball. I think from my mage or someone. Might be my mage. I mean, my mage only has that as a because he's using battle magic, so it doesn't have the ruby ring.
Oh yes, that wasn't from the ring. That was from.
And all the other shooting does 4 out of 5 iron drakes, which of course is the trollhammer dude. And I'm like, oh god, this is showing blah 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 blah, like that. I do 2 wounds to the other gyrocopter, so I'm plinking through them pretty nicely, and I put a woods in front of him so that he can't see stuff, which is where we then go, actually, this is probably one of the best vortexes we've had so far.
Yes. Obviously, it also relies on the fact that I am not dispelling them with my fated dispel at the start of my own turn, because technically I could dispel that spell with a fated dispel at the start of my turn and then still charge because it's not there anymore.
Yes.
But you still have to roll a decent amount on 2d6 to dispel it. You don't get a bonus from your wizard.
And this is showing the woods. Very cartoon.
I think on this occasion I don't dispel it as well. So
yeah.
We might find out for definite in a minute.
Over here, I kill the gyrocopter, and move over to your turn.
Mm-hmm.
This is showing that you do not dispel it.
Oh yeah, I don't think I dispel it. So yeah.
Or I've just duplicated the picture. Either way.
No. There you go. That's probably what I rolled.
Yeah.
Well, here we go.
No, I don't have a picture of the movement. You do see the gyrocopter going behind my lines, which is less of an issue. And then, Dragon poked his head out, didn't he? Dragon poked his head out. So we should say the dragon has 9 wounds, and I think has a 5-up ward. I think this one has been a shield in. You did because I poked my head out. I'm going, hello? Is dwarf shooting there? Is that you? You say yes. It certainly fucking is.
Here it is. It definitely is. Yeah, just because you're 2 inches out of my range normally. If you will come into this range, then I will get him.
So 7 out of 9 wounds. We've all told organ guns, troll hammers. There was a couple of D3s and things like this. But it was just like, what?
even what remained of the Thunderers. Even what remained of the Thunderers got in the action because they did one of those wounds. Magic missile from an Anvil of Doom.
Just everything did at least 1 wound, and I was like, oh my god, this. I think one of the last Trollhammer was a D3 and did 1. So I think so. It definitely could have killed me.
Yes, there was definitely a case where it was a roll of D3, and if you get a 5 or 6, the dragon's dead. But it rolled a 1 and did 1 wound. So it was. It was a good bit of fun, but it was kind of like, oh yeah, you definitely shouldn't have charged that dragon because of this.
So it just highlighted what my next turns were going to be. There was going to be even more, and for us, we would chat quite a bit about the lists and things like this. Obviously, showing how devastating yours can be at certain points, but also the dragon might be a liability.
Doesn't really fit
all avoidance type list.
Because there's not really going to be anything that he can countercharge without putting himself at risk. Although it is only against this dwarf list, so maybe there's still a place for him. But the dwarfs kind of liked that there was a dragon to shoot at.
But there was some shooting going on. Oh my goodness! She was not happy.
I like that.
Not happy. But over to the next turn, and my dragon runs away. With like tail firmly between its legs, and the wood elves basically they kind of shuffle back. Yeah, they reset and shuffle back. It's where I also work.
Gyrocopter's mostly dealt with.
Yeah, well, it's still there. It's still at the back. So I think I did have to march the dragon, but it's a weird one because it's
you did a massive wheeling arc.
It did a wheel rather than just flying around.
It was like a reverse S, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is something I think people are going to have to think about when they're taking these big dragons and stuff. Is how actually they're not that wieldy in terms of movement at some points. But so they can't just like fly backwards.
No.
Well, they can, but they lose a lot of movement. But yeah, so otherwise I just kind of moved back, and all told, I killed off this guy on the left. I killed off one of the troll hammers, did a couple more wounds to the iron drakes,
Other
and
iron drakes.
finished off the other thunderers.
Thunderers.
So picking up points for
Yeah, and
Sylvans.
the gyrocopter that rallied then failed another panic test.
It did, yeah, carried
I
on.
think the thunder was dying or something, and yeah, it carried on running. So that gyrocopter clearly is valuing survival over hassling your army.
Yeah, I didn't realise I'd given you the peg with a yellow belly.
Very nice.
But,
in my turn, I moved my last remaining gyrocopter into breath weapon range.
Yeah.
Despite getting a pretty good template on that unit of Glade Guard, I only actually killed one of them. But it's a breath weapon, it's only strength 3, so and I have taken a few wounds on the gyrocopter, so as my lone thing charging your lines, he doesn't expect to last very much longer.
Yeah.
So, and otherwise, in terms of movement, I just moved these long beards so they were actually facing your way watchers, kind of doing my screening to keep you back, and so that if you did do a dragon move and move into my range, then I might even be able to get you if you get a bit ballsy. Other than that, I'm literally just gonna sit there and wait the battle out. So 3 turns of how much can you kill?
Absolutely. And my next turn basically culminates in just the iron drakes. I can't get close enough to. I do 1 wound to the organ gun.
You do
to one of them, but
you weren't rolling 6s to wound, were you?
I also can't get close enough to focus fire with everything. Because of the long beards, basically, they're like stopping me getting too close, and I don't want to like half and half it. So I chose just to go with the iron drakes, make them the priority, and see what else I could get. I got 1 wound, so happy days. And that was
the
it.
Thorns failed to kill the gyrocopter as well.
Oh my goodness, they were just with poison as well, and like you're just like, oh come on, it was so funny. Just like the gyrocopter going, can't. It was like, can't touch me.
Yeah, ding, 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 ding.
But yeah, onto your movement and the longbeards. Get aggressive.
I do get aggressive. I kind of figured now that the writing was on the wall. All my gyrocopters had failed to cause you any problems. You were just going to blink me off bit by bit. So I may as well force the Way Watchers to come around and try their game against the organ gun while threatening you if you did decide to bottle it and not go for the organ gun. Because you weren't going to do the wounds you needed to kill the longbeards. Nothing was going to kill them. So yeah, I just went for it a little bit. See how that pans out.
And the gyrocopter rallied.
Oh yes, and he probably wasn't going to come through. Oh yeah, and the breath weapon turned up this time.
Me. Oh,
I know. Yeah, did some wounds.
We should say with the breath weapons, probably haven't a surprisingly bad because the base sizes have got bigger, but the templates haven't as well. So this actually got a fair amount of mine. I think it was only the.
I rolled well on the 4-ups as well this time.
Yeah. It's
to cover the half covered bases.
But yeah, you are going to find that the breath weapons are, I think, a
little less effective than you might. Yeah. Agree.
But yeah, not this time.
No, 5 dead elves. Nice.
Yeah. I then go. I'm going to get you with a curse of our attraction. Roll it, double 1. And you're like, oh god, these elves don't want to do anything. Miscast, do a wound to myself. And that's funny, isn't it? My Way Watchers decide. So obviously you can't shoot and march, but they decide to get out of arc of these longbeards, and I start the long march onto the organ guns. I've still got 2 units over here and other units that can go against this closer one, but I've got skirmisher as well, so I'm not. Even though it is organ guns, I'm not too worried because I'm -1 to hit. And you are ballistic skill shooting. So I think you start on 4s. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, correct. And then I reroll 1s with the engineer ability.
Yeah. So, well, you won't kill me, so I'll move over there. And otherwise, keep the arc. Basically, I finally kill this goddamn gyrocopter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, do the 1 wound. That might have been the poison javelin. We'll say it's the poison javelins or wind blast.
Oh, I don't know.
But another
call it dangerous terrain.
Yeah, another reason that we didn't play it that way, but it just never came up because I either did Wind Blast or the Poison, and it killed you. So it was like
Yeah,
a.
yeah. It was all good. He'd lived longer than he should have done.
Yeah, I don't do many other wounds though. And on your turn, I poke my head out. Hello, hello, dwarves. I'm skirmisher. I can dodge, and then I just didn't dodge.
No, no. You had the choice of being evasive, but your evasive roll was so not guaranteed to get you out of range that it wasn't worth doing. You needed to roll pretty high on your evasive dice to get out of range of the organ gun, so you just didn't, and suffered for it.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of an experience in using that as a thing.
Yes,
but also your re-roll on the. I think you chose to re-roll one of the organ guns, which was on a 4, and got 10, and you like 18, and you're like, oh,
the misfire. Yeah, the artillery
or
dice.
It was, yeah.
Yes.
And it was just like, oh god, and just everything came up millhouse.
Definitely did. Yeah, the dwarfs are like, we're pretty annoyed that you're staying out of range. Yeah. But when you get in range, boy. Yeah.
It's funny, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, just absolutely obliterated that unit. I was like,
it was demonstrating that you were absolutely right to be staying out of range.
Yeah. Yeah. On to my turn. I can't remember what turn. My last turn, in fact. I move up. As
well,
far
not
as I
technically
can.
your last turn, because we were rolling off.
No,
to see
we were rolling off.
Yeah.
So it carried on. The game carried on. I also marched up because I'm now pretty. I've only got the organ guns left. So if I focus fire, I can like 5 wounds. It is like toughness 7, but it's 5 wounds. Let's go down. And these Sisters of Thorn can march and shoot. So
yes,
this is kind of them waiting for their chance to march before I can focus fire on the organ guns, and they did.
Yeah.
Going into it, I killed both organ guns, and
you did all in one go. It was quite. I was actually ended up being surprised. Like I expected focus fire to kill the organ guns, and then the first attempt at it didn't, and then the second attempt just did easily. It was like completely different dice, wasn't it?
Yeah. So coming up, killed them, and that's where we decided to call the game because not much else is going to happen. It might finish soon. You're not going to do anything on your turn. You're going to finish, and at some point it's going to finish. We're probably not going to get the rest of the stuff. So that's where we do it. It ended up 782 versus 74 because
I know
half points. Or actually,
indeed,
I should say something that caught us out caught me out. If you get a unit down to 25%, you get a quarter of their unit value rather than half, which I guess makes sense in that 25% is 25 thing. But because I had one Weight Watcher left, that meant you only got 25% of what was 180 points or something. So a surprising amount. Obviously, that meant a crushing victory.
I didn't get any points for the dragon then. Is that right?
7 out of 9. Would you have got that?
So yeah, probably not.
20. That's not quite. Is it 7 out of 9? 25%.
I don't know. I'm really bad at maths when it's like that.
2.
Yeah. It's 77%. So I should have got a quarter of points.
So quarter, so 125 on top of this. So 200 points.
Wouldn't have changed anything. Yeah.
So to get a crushing victory, you need double the amount of your opponent. Which this list, and this is another thing that we were talking about because we spoke quite a lot, obviously, because we had lots of time.
In between shooting. Yeah.
This is how this Wood Elf list definitely wins and gets the crushing, quote unquote, crushing victories, is by just not losing too much points, avoiding everything, and just getting enough to be double. And I think, I don't. Everyone's each your own, and it was like it's a very interesting way of playing. I don't think it's my way of playing, and I'm not sure you'll see this too much on this list, on this channel.
Yeah.
We may in the future because we've got other things planned. But yeah, it's a different way of playing, and it doesn't. To me, it doesn't like properly play the game. It just avoids playing the game.
Because like I said, I could have deployed right in the corner and just said, "I'm not playing this game," and that wouldn't have made good content really for the channel. I mean, maybe it would as an option of how to deal with the list. Maybe we'll do that in the future. But
I think if you do see it, it'll be challenging actually for this wood elf, because I think it's a really good list. This is
Oh, it's
what it
really
comes down
powerful.
to.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like sack off the dragon, get even more shooting, and just yeah, and that's what
Yeah.
your proper cookie cutter leaf
Mm.
blower list. But yeah,
Good fun game though. We made the most of what we could do out of
yeah,
it, didn't we? We had a laugh with it, and there were some good fun stories in there, like the dragon nearly dying when it poked its
yeah,
head out, like the Way Watchers nearly dying when they poked their head out. The gyrocopter constantly fleeing and
yeah,
rallying and fleeing and
absolutely.
rallying.
So it was
Yeah, so
a good fun battle, and yeah, moves us on to our next one. Do let us know about those double magic moves and magic missiles and stuff like that. You can let us know on multiple different formats, including Twitter, Facebook, Patreon. Go play on Warhol to test out some things as well.
yeah,
But
I'm going to be
otherwise,
playing on
guys,
Warhol soon.
yeah. And of course, a last shout out to magnetic.com. We will be doing videos, so stay tuned and subscribe just for that video, I'm sure. That'll be worth it.
Absolutely.
And all the other content we have coming your way.
Yeah, yeah. Cheers for joining us, and give us some comments on it all, whether it's on those magic missile shooting thing or not. Anything, we love your comments. So give us stuff to reply to.
Yeah, and what else you put in that cookie cutter list to make it even worse?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks very much for staying on board till the end, and we will see you next time.